The shiur is dedicated to Rachalea Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi, as always. Okay, we're beginning with Kohelet this time, Perek Tet. The topic of the Perek is going to be dealing with one of the great illusions that people have to contend with, which is that on an external level, we could be deceived into thinking that the lives of the tzaddikim and the lives of the Rishonim are the same. So let's look at what it says. Ket kol zeh natati elibi lavor et kol zeh asher hatzadikim v'achachamim v'avdeihem biyad ha'elokim gam ha'ahava gam sina ein yodea ha'adam hakol lefneihem. So Shlomo HaMelech says, I put all of these things to my heart, meaning all of the realities that we encounter about life. And his intention, as he said, was lavor. Lavor means to clarify. So when he was exploring this, it wasn't to prove something, it was to clarify something, which is a completely different thing. Shlomo HaMelech had no doubts about God's justice or about God's existence. What he was trying to do was to clarify, to make clear in his own mind, what do you do when you see things that seem to make any belief in Hashgacha, any belief in Hashem's providence, almost impossible. So he says, all of these things I've seen how the righteous people, the wise people, and the things that happen to them, their service, or alternatively the word avdeihem, which could mean their service and the things that occur to them. It could also mean those who serve them. So what that would mean is that the tzaddikim and the chachamim, in order to function, have to have people who receive what they give. There's no teacher without students. There's no wise person without somebody who's going to seek wisdom and try to elicit from them. So there's an interesting phenomenon that happens. If a person is willing to take that role, to be the one who listens to the one who hears and elicits and seeks, they're considered by Hashem to be part of the tzaddik. So this doctrine is referred to as ibur. It means, so to speak, that the tzaddik is pregnant with his disciple, that he gives birth to his disciple ultimately. So because of that, the disciple and the tzaddik are considered as though they're one person. So when he's saying, I want to understand reality, to him the question doesn't only involve the tzaddikim and the chachamim, but those who serve them, those who take their works and make them happen. Biyad ha'elokim, he says it's from Hashem's hand. Now notice which divine name he chose to use. The name Elokim is the name that's used to describe how Hashem interacts with the world through the forces of nature. And in fact, the name Elokim has the same numerical value, the same gematria as the word Hateva. He's saying, this midah, this trait of Hashem's, in which he conceals his presence with nature, is sometimes called midas hadin, which means the attribute of justice. So we have to understand why nature and justice, which seem to be almost opposite. Nature seems to be a very unreasoning mistress. The sun shines for the wicked and for the righteous. The rain falls on the wicked and on the righteous. What that would have to do with the divine attribute of justice. So the answer to that is that in nature, everything has limitations. So how hot will the sun be? If it's hotter than it is, even by, let's say, 30 degrees, life on Earth would be radically, radically different, if it would continue at all. If it were to rain every day of the year, all over the world, twice as much as it does now, where the world couldn't continue. So everything has limitations. The limitations are defined by Hashem, who from his perspective knows how much everything that exists needs for its continued presence. So midas hadin would mean matching what's given to the capacities of the recipient. So it's exact. When you talk about midas hadin, when talking about humans, what you're saying is Hashem gives in direct response to what humans could receive. What does this have to do with justice? So justice from a secular perspective is very different than justice from a divine perspective. When you ask somebody, what does justice mean? They'll say, well, things should be fair. So, well, what does fair mean? They'll say, well, everybody should be treated the same. So, well, is everyone the same? Could everyone be treated the same? So people don't always know what to do with those questions because the secular system of justice can't address itself to those questions. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Suppose there's alternative side of the street parking. So here it is, it's Tuesday morning, you're supposed to park at the south side of the street. Somebody parked on the north side, they get a ticket. Somebody else did the same thing, they also got a ticket. Now that seems completely fair, that's justice. They did the same thing, they should get the same response. But if we were to talk about it in a deeper sense, what